G'day folks, and welcome to this introduction and an overview of Barbarossa, Army Group South 1941. This is another design by Vance von Borries, part of the East Front series, and published by GMT Games in 1996. So this comes straight after the publication of Typhoon. It's the second title in the series, and it saw some upgrades to the series rules and counter information, some relatively minor things, changes to air units, changes to headquarters, operational, non-operational, things like that. I'll zoom in and show some of those in just a moment. I'm starting with a broad overview to give you a sense of how big this is and map footprint, size, and what it all looks like. This is the setup for Scenario 5, the full campaign. So I'm jumping into the deep end with this one. This campaign, it's pretty much the full thing. It runs from the 22nd of June 1941 through until the 16th of August 1941. So 28 turns. Geographically, we're looking at Army Group South's area of operations. We've got, for example, Lublin up here, Przemysl down here somewhere here. Lvov, Lutsk, out to the right we have Kiev around here. I'm using this stick so I don't get my head in the way, if you're wondering. We've got Oman under here, that's where the encirclement happened. Odessa way down the south, Romanian border around here. And as I zoom in, you'll see some other sort of minor and major cities around the map. But basically, this is where Army Group South, this is their main focus of their drive. You have 17th Armour, 1st Panzer Group pushing east out of here. What makes, I think, this area of operations pretty interesting is the strength and the activity of Russians in the area. The Kiev military district had actually outnumbered Army Group South by about 100,000 troops. So the Germans were outnumbered. Army Group South was outnumbered in this area. Various reasons for their success. You can talk about the training of their tank crews and things like that. But outnumbered and faced a pretty active Russian defense. Along the frontier here in particular, a lot of counterattacks by the Russians. It took some time, several days, for the Germans to actually break through. They finally, when they did break through, they reached Lutsk on about the 25th of June, and they shifted to the southeast a little bit. But then the very next day, on the 26th of June, there's this Russian counterattack along here, which really threatened to cut off several of these German panzer divisions that had advanced. 17th Army advances towards Lvov, and they capture it around the 30th of June. And that's another key victory condition in basically victory points for all these sort of objectives. I've marked some of them on the first map, but Lvov is worth, I think it's 5 if you capture it in the first 4 turns, but then it reduces to 1 victory point thereafter. So there's a real rush for Lvov in particular. All the rest are mostly worth 1. And I haven't placed the other victory markers for the other maps yet. So you've got map E out here. You've got map F in this bottom right area. Map G up here. And they're very small scenarios, so you can play sort of one map battles and operations and so forth. And then there's an additional 4th map, map R, which is way out sort of to the east around Rostov. And it doesn't connect with these maps. And it's there so that, I guess, ideally you could link these battles together. You can see E, F, G, and then map R. And the idea was that you could link all these maps together and play through the whole Eastern Front, including sort of Stalingrad and way down to the south around the Caucasus. There is within this title one scenario using that map R. The rest focus on these aspects of these 3 maps, with the campaign bringing them all together with this large and impressive looking footprint. You've got the initial offensive up here in the northwest. This map down here, map F, is effectively frozen until game turn 6. Nothing can happen here. No movement, no combat. until the Axis launch Operation München or Munich, where they attacked through here, mainly around this area here. The problem with this was not a lot of armour support for Axis operations in this area, this big river in the way. And yeah, they take a while to get going, take a while to break through these frontier defences. When they did, it happened along here, along this main road. And if you look at the road network around here, which I've been looking at, there's basically this road here, there's a secondary road or minor road somewhere crossing the river, the Dnester River it is, around here, but there's not a lot. There's another sort of road out this way. So this crossing here at Mogilev Podolsky is historically where the Axis crossed and where I'll be striving to cross as well. It was this bridgehead across the river here which was the basis for the subsequent Axis advance. This with the first Panzer Group driving southeast and east from Lutsk. This sort of undermined all the Russian forces in this area. From here, the Axis forces turned sort of east, northeast towards Oman. Under here is where the encirclement happened. And it's around about this time that von Rundstedt split his forces kind of in two. He sort of broke up 1st Panzer Group, sent some Panzer Corps towards Kiev to try to invest that as quickly as possible. And it diverted some of these other Panzer divisions, Panzer Corps to the south, to basically almost follow the Dnieper southeast towards the Black Sea and the Crimea. Odessa, as I said, just off the map to the south here. Yeah, I'll zoom in and give you a sort of a close-up view of this map. So, yeah, this map runs a little wider than 2 plexiglass sheets, so there's a little bit off the map. But the Germans are hoping operations will shift onto the plexi pretty soon. What you have here is 17th Army area. They draw towards Lvov. Then you've got 1st Panzer Group around here. And again, they're kind of, I think they'll be looking to skirt around the northern edges maybe. If they can bust straight through, great. Interesting feature of these Russian defences is it's largely unknown. We've got a lot of these untried, untested units, which are sort of situated along the front, and we don't quite know how well they'll defend. So, yeah, it's a bit of a lucky dip for the Germans in many of these areas. Again, historically, the Russians put up a good defence, a lot of local counterattacks. I think a lot of that depends on the strength of those units on the front. There's a lot of movement restrictions. So as I said, map F is frozen until game turn 6. A lot of the Russians, so you can see these guys rotated by 45 degrees, can't move on game turn 1. There's a lot of movement restrictions in general, for the Germans included, on game turn 1. Some Russians are rotated basically 90 degrees, and they can't move until game turn 3. So, yeah, studying the road networks is going to be important. It's mostly dry weather, which is nice. A nice change from Typhoon, where there was mud and snow. There may be some mud, but hopefully no snow. Or storms, for that matter. There's, of course, some interdiction levels on the Soviet headquarters, part of setup. There are, basically, the Germans are really going to be on the attack on game turn 1. Let me shift around and show you where Operation Munich happens. So this is looking at map F with map G kind of north of this area. So you can see a lot of Romanian units, the Germans. I've tilted them just to reinforce that idea that nobody in this map can move. There is some strong infantry, Axis infantry divisions and various strong units in this area, facing probably a more scattered, but still, there are some strong points in these Russian, not that one, that one. Some strong points in this Russian defence. It remains to be seen, I guess, how they'll fare against that. And again, this is where they're looking. So you can see this road network kind of comes in around. There's a road straight across there to Mogilev Podolsky where they historically crossed. But beyond that, if they're looking to use roads to get their supplies to the front, that's what they need to do. This isn't great out here to the far west, and beyond that, this isn't great either. So this is pretty much the only main road crossing of the Dnester throughout this whole region from what you can see on this image. That's the only decent crossing. And they'll be looking to link up with that 17th Army and 1st Panzer Group as they come down from the north. So in setting this up, I will say that the setup cards are brilliant. Common in many games, of course, but in a game of this size and scale, it was time-consuming, but very easy to find, and very easy to find these units, clearly labelled. They've got their clear information basically on what map they go on and where they set up and various circumstances. So there are some units with, I think this one here has a step loss. Not many have that. And then, a fairly big reinforcement schedule. A lot of very interesting units to come on. We've got some Slovaks, some Hungarians, a lot of different air units with different strengths and benefits. And it's going to be very interesting for the Axis in particular to manage their supplies, getting those sort of attack supply units to the front. So I'll be playing through this and producing some reports. Stay tuned, and as always, thanks for watching and take care.